Penguin Random House Canada presents The Tiger and the Cosmonaut by Eddy Boudel. Read for you by Danny Vo. For my mother and father, and for all the mothers and fathers whose children never make themselves small. I was born on the side of the road shortly after sunset, beneath the thinnest sliver of moon. There was no hospital in Wilhelm, so my parents took the chance of driving an hour to the coast for the nearest maternity ward. They piled Nadia and Ricky, still toddlers at the time, into the family van and sped along the road that sliced through the forest. They didn't make it. I've seen the van in photos, black with a turquoise stripe along the side. My mother's pain had become so intense that my father pulled over at the midway point between our town and the hospital. We were surrounded by wilderness, deep and dark. He laid a blanket on a patch of grass and helped my mother onto her back while Nadia and Ricky watched from the van's sliding door. There was barely any moonlight to guide my father's shaking hands. My mother pleaded with the stars until my cries joined hers, echoing against the trees that watched over us. I've always found this story hard to believe. It would sound more like folklore than fact, as my father told it with a zealous gleam in his eyes. But my mother would nod along instead of correcting him, as she often did. I brought good fortune, at least according to Chinese astrologers. You were born beneath a new moon, my father would say. The moon of the tiger. In the year of the tiger, you're both lucky boys. Sam would always smile at this point in the story. He might have been the difficult one, but he understood how to believe. I know now that our father was wrong. It wasn't a new moon, which is always invisible to the naked eye. The silver crescent that night meant it was a young moon instead, when it would have been far enough from the sun to reflect some of its light. I wish I could believe that the heavens aligned to grant me the luck of the tiger, as Sam once did, but I know the truth is simpler. We were merely two boys born on the side of the road because our father couldn't drive fast enough. Act 1. Space. Chapter 1. I hear the mosquito before I see it, a propeller in a tin can. It careens past my ear and lands on my forearm. An unusual sight for this time of year, but it's been a sticky, breezeless September. The sound brings me to the creek behind my parents' house, a place of little creatures that circle us, their prey. My brother grabs at them as if they're bursts of confetti. His laughter surrounds me. It echoes from a quiet corner of my memory, then it dissolves and I'm back in this overcrowded restaurant. A grown man at a table for two, waiting. I don't swat at the mosquito. I watch, unflinching, until it finishes and lifts off. Anthony's late. His minutes always seem longer than everyone else's, and yet I'd hoped tonight might be different. Dining out has become a rarity, but after a stretch of marking assignments, I decided I deserved an overdue date night. Now my boyfriend is the one being graded. It's louder than I'd like. My table is in the center of the restaurant, and so I feel exposed, as if everyone is watching me, wondering if my companion will ever arrive, waiting to hear what we have to say to each other. I tune into the surrounding tables, hungry for distraction. The students behind me are recounting last night's debauchery, while the couple to my right are debating how much to spend on a wedding gift. Depends on the closeness of the friendship and the extravagance of the wedding, I imagine telling them. I flinch at the sound of a man's palm hitting a tabletop, the force of it nearly tipping his wine glass over the edge. Laughter erupts from him, hostile and joyless. It reminds me of a video I once watched of an alpha gorilla. The bark, the bared teeth, the proud chest. He continues to talk at his companion, who nods along while picking at her plate with little interest. Why do men like him need to take up so much space? I will the woman to tell him off, to refuse to be subjected to his dominance, but she remains small and quiet in her seat. Sorry I'm late. Anthony slides into the chair across from me. I glance at my watch before I can stop myself and then recover with a forced smile. It's fine. He looks tired under his eyes, and there are nicks along his jaw from a rushed shave. His thick hair, the color of how I take my coffee, espresso with a splash of cream, has been styled in a hurry. I'm struck by how badly I still want him. Even after 4 years, I feel what I felt in our early days together, a warped sense of pride and possession. That's what I get for punching above my weight. On the scale of queer male desirability, he's pushing 9, while I hover around a generous 6. It doesn't help that I live in a city where Asian men are either fetishized or ignored. My own perceptions of beauty must be irreparably distorted by now. I catch a glimpse of myself in the mirrors along the wall, and I see how tidy I look, with my black hair styled neatly to the side and my shirt collar crisply ironed, wondering how the man seated across from me can be considered so much more attractive with so little effort. We order tap water from the server, and I sense her relief that my date has arrived and I'm no longer so pathetic and alone. I hear this place is good, Anthony says as he scans the menu. I want to tell him I can smell the cigarette smoke beneath the musk of his cologne. I want to ask him why he's given into the habit again, why he feels the need to hide it from me. I might get the salmon, I say instead. Anthony never lies. Despite being an actor, he's programmed to reveal rather than conceal. His performances are reserved for the camera. I used to mistrust the clarity of his face, but I've learned over time that he's almost impaired by sincerity. So why start hiding things now? He'd say I wouldn't approve, and I'd deny it even though he'd be right. He'd point out that the last thing we need is another reason to argue. Again, he'd be right. He must realize I'm not oblivious, though. Perhaps he wants me to know, to interpret this as a sign of something deeper and bound to spread. He knows that's precisely what I'd do. Perhaps he's testing me, too. Hanny, he says, his pet name for me. Hanny, you're bleeding. An angry shade of red is smeared along my forearm where the mosquito had landed. There's blood crusted beneath my fingernails. I wipe my arm with a napkin like a clumsy child, and soon the white linen is soiled with my DNA. I'm about to make light of it when I'm interrupted by another sharp laugh from the gorilla man. He slaps the table again, attracting looks from around the room. I feel an urge to take the bloody steak on his plate and shove it into his gaping mouth. Instead, I remain in my seat, seething yet civil, quelling the impulse with the art of restraint I've come to master. I turn to Anthony, who's watching me with a knowing half-smile. Only in moments like this does he seem to truly get me, and I feel a brief flutter of gratitude. Let's get out of here, he says. Anthony Mellon went down on me in an alley the first night we met. I still think about how dirty and dangerous I felt as he unzipped my pants and rescued me with his mouth. We hid from flashing headlights only meters away, and we could hear the music from the other side of the wall, feel the bass inside our chests. Someone from the party could wander into the alley at any second, but Anthony didn't appear to care. There was only one thing he wanted in that moment, and it was me. I wasn't even supposed to be at that party. A friend had gotten us on the guest list somehow, and I decided on a whim to go. It was far from my natural environment, a rap party filled with actors and their egos, but I knew I wouldn't get very far in life by hiding in my apartment. Anthony would later say it was fate that brought me to him. From the beginning, I was out of place, judging by the doorman's sneer as he ushered me inside. And it wasn't long before I found myself alone in the darkest corner of the cavernous space, my friend having lost herself within the first 20 minutes under the pretense of finding the washroom. It had taken nearly as much time to gain the bartender's attention for a drink. After that, I just stood there in the corner, wishing I were still waiting, because at least then I'd have something to do. I noticed Anthony from across the floor, but I wouldn't have attempted any sort of approach. I'd learned long before that I was invisible to men like him. Both flaunting and withholding, so confident in his skin, which glistened beneath the lights as its sheer top clung to it.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?